And I welcome the opportunity to speak on this important issue. Minister, we're facing into the dark, cold months of winter, and we're facing into it in the context of families and households and workers being hit with increased local property tax, increase in fuel costs for transport, student fees, insurance, rent, food, and the list goes on. And now we're facing into a situation in the last week where 4 energy companies are hiking up their prices. Prices used to go up in energy by 1 or 2 or 3%. Most of us remember that. But now it's 9, 11, 12 and 13% and so on. That's the way it goes. Energy is going to put their prices by 12%. Gouging is going up by 13%. Féin Energy is putting up the prices by 9%. We have one of the highest electricity prices in Europe. Over 500,000 customers are going to be hit with these increases in the next couple of weeks. Many of them don't have the additional amounts of money to pay for that. Already we have a record number of people in arrears, and we're only in September. They're still getting summer bills. This is the important issue. The government has decided to withdraw energy credits and energy support in the upcoming budget. Yet, you had no problem giving them last year. Millionaires got them. All of us in this house got them. It was absolute insanity. And it's simple what you were doing. I cannot but reach the conclusion that you were trying to buy the election. Helicopter money was falling out of the sky into households. But this year, low-paid workers, families, disabled people, such as my colleague here, Deputy Healy, has mentioned, disabled people, elderly, but low-paid workers who don't get any fuel scheme or anything else, they need help. And it's the government's job to try and protect people. Energy companies are price gouging, and we know that because of the huge amount of profits they're making. With the highest electricity, one of the highest in the European Union, yet wholesale prices for electricity have dropped by over 70% in the last 3 years, while the cost continues to increase. It's pure profiteering, and over 300,000 households cannot pay those bills already. The government are also committed to increasing carbon tax to heap on more costs on people. And Minister, the Public Service Obligation Levy, this must be restructured. At the moment, the public are subsidising large companies. They're subsidising energy to data centres. Data centres must start paying their fair share and carry the burden for their responsibilities, not domestic customers. The current PSO levy at $3.23 per month plus VAT, that needs to be restructured. It changes again at the end of September, and it's time to reform that. And I want to address with you the issue of support for wind farms. I'm a supporter of wind energy. I'm a supporter of solar energy, biogas energy, hydrogen energy, and hydro energy. We need to use all of the renewable sources we have. I get that. But what I want to say to you is this. According to an answer to a parliamentary question that I got recently, over the last 5 years, you have given 549 million to private developers developing wind farms. Now, there were some years there was a negative, but I worked out the figures. The balance works out at a plus of 549 million. Those companies are highly profitable. We were told that when we had wind energy and renewable energy, that would be a lot cheaper, in particularly wind energy. But that hasn't turned out to be the case. It's turned out to be very, very expensive. And you're allowing those companies to price gouge. You're also providing support for them to get set up and to do it. But the cost of energy, which were promised would go down with wind energy, is skyrocketing. And government need to explain that. Now, a previous speaker referred to a very important matter. Who owns it? If I heard the previous speaker correctly, and I think he quoted correctly, that over 90% used to be owned by the public. Now, that's nearly flipped on its head. 75% is owned by them being large corporations that we have no control over, and you have no control over, because you have allowed this to happen deliberately. laissez-faire policies, laissez-faire liberal economics, you know, real Trumpian style stuff, and you might give out about Trump and all that, but you're copying what he's doing economically, and you're handing over key industries to these large companies who are taking you on a merry dance and absolutely ripping off the taxpayer. A few years ago, you know, going back a number of decades ago, you know, people would be reasonably well off if they had a car, if they could afford one holiday a year and such and such. People now can't put bread on the table. I've outlined to you 7 or 8 increases at the start when I was speaking in relation to 7 or 8 increases are coming in. The fuel allowance kicks in that this week. That's welcome. I welcome that matter, but it needs to be expanded and it needs to be targeted better. We must make sure that people have help and that we help those who most need it in the upcoming budget. There must be at least €400 of an energy credit this year to assist people. If energy prices are allowed to continue rising before the budget, what will it be like after the budget when the government heap on their extra costs and the knock-on prices? You know, people are saying to me they're really, really struggling with supermarket prices and all of the other things that I outlined. You're leading people into debt. You're leaving it to St. Vincent de Paul and charities to sort out this. You know, the Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, you know, whoever can, load it onto charities and, you know, thank them for the work. That is not good enough. We need a more sustainable way of dealing with this. And just in relation to retrofitting has been welcome, and I welcome the fact that it's happening. But it needs to happen quicker, and some of the schemes need to be changed because the upfront costs for people are just too high. Most middle and low-income workers cannot come up with 25, 30 or 35,000 to pay their part of it. They can't take out an extra loan on top of a mortgage that they have because it's just not possible for them to do that. So we need to examine that, and we need to help that better, and I would appeal to you to do something with that in the budget. We also need to ensure that when retrofitting that we include windows and doors in it, because if we don't, you know, a lot of the heat is flying out through the windows and doors and it's not being contained within the house, and particularly for those low-income households who are not in the social housing category, people who are living in private houses, you know, who are cash poor. They're cash poor. They may own the house, but they don't have the money to retrofit. So look, we're facing into the dark, cold winter evenings. Householders, and particularly the low-paid, the disabled and other groups need help. I'm appealing to you, don't let the budget pass. Don't pass them over in the budget. I know there's no election and you don't have to buy an election this year, but I would ask you not to forget those people.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary.